All right, so for the first time ever, that hurricane forced hurricane hunters in a plane to turn back, to turn around. Hurricane Melissa, so intense that even the experts at one point turned back. Look at that. That's a monster visual there. Matthew Cappucci has flown through Melissa in recent days. He's live with us now to talk about that experience. So are you surprised by the need to turn around by your peers for their flight yesterday?
You know, given the magnitude of this hurricane, truth be told, I'm not very surprised at all. You know, planes can fly into intense hurricanes, but the issue is with an intensifying system like Melissa, which is strengthening up until the point of landfall, you get so many chaotic, smaller scale winds embedded in the overall circulation. You get things called mesovortices, smaller scale whirls inside the overall eye. And that can be critical for flights because they get jostled around extreme turbulence, and that turbulence puts pressure, G-force, on the airframe. And if it's high end enough, it can actually cause structural damage. So yesterday there was a flight that had to be abandoned. Today there was another one from the Air Force that had to turn back. And it really just shows you just how powerful Melissa is.
Well, and we know that there's steel in the spine of people like you who go up and fly through the eyes of these hurricanes because you're bringing back data that can save life. So to turn around really speaks to the magnitude. What would they likely have felt in those moments when they said, look, we're going to abort this mission?
So I actually pulled some data earlier on. The plane went up and down by about, I believe, 700 feet in 1 minute's time.
Whoa.
Which, yeah, I mean, that's incredible turbulence. In past hurricane hunter flights, there have been up to about 20, 30 degrees of sort of tilt left or right from the wings, seeing more lift on one side compared to the other due to that extreme turbulence. And so I only encountered low-end turbulence Sunday night, low to mid-end turbulence. I mean, I definitely reached for the motion sickness bag. But for the folks who do this all the time, like the hurricane hunters, they're used to incredible things. And for them to turn back is very telling.
700 feet. We're talking about the equivalent of a several-story building drop in just a matter of 1 minute. That has got to be a gut check.
I can only imagine. And, you know, these planes are built for this. These are P-3 Orions from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. And then the Air Force also has a number of very intense propeller planes. And they're built for this. Yet to get something this dramatic shows you how serious Melissa is. Now, interestingly, when I flew through the eye wall on Sunday night, I encountered something incredible called the stadium effect. If we pull that picture up, you'll be able to see, I could see stars above me from the clear skies inside the eye, and yet all around me, I saw the eye wall with the 140, 150 mile per hour winds.
Packs a punch for sure, and I'm not sure if our people in the back can do this, but if we can pull up some live cameras there around Jamaica, because I want to ask you about the situation on the ground now. Of course, we know that this hurricane has made landfall in that New Hope region. For anybody who is looking at these live images right now and think, oh, doesn't look too bad, looks rainy, looks windy, but maybe I can tough it out. What is your message to them as somebody who has flown through this monster?
Hell on earth is unfolding right now in Jamaica. In western Jamaica, the eye wall, that innermost buzzsaw of extreme winds, is lifting ashore. Winds likely gusting over 150 miles per hour on land. Ordinarily, we see these high-end winds over the open ocean. But to get this in a populated area with 2.8 million people in the developing nation of Jamaica is going to lead to unimaginable tragedy and structural damage. Some communities will be isolated. And this is just the start of a very long duration disaster and humanitarian crisis. The disaster does not end when the storm leaves, it just begins, and this will last a very long time. The other thing worth mentioning too, with the 150 mile per hour winds, those are tornado magnitude wind speeds. They'll last for up to 3 hours in some places, given the slow movement of the eye wall. That will cause incredible structural damage, lift compact cars, potentially loft even small SUVs and move them around. But the tree damage will be extreme. Vegetation will be either destroyed, denuded, or defoliated. And so the landscape won't even look the same until about 10 years later, if not more.
And you know, a person from the Red Cross whose interview we aired just a little while ago said that Melissa is wide and she is slow. And I think about what happens in an earthquake, when an earthquake happens and it's over in 20 seconds. But then we know earthquakes can go for 2-3 minutes. And that is when that sustained damage really piles up. So to use that sort of framework, talking about a very slow, a very wide hurricane that is going to last for several minutes, if not several hours, that's really when the devastation piles up, is it not?
Oh, definitely, because, you know, when you get these extreme gusts in a tornado, they last maybe a few seconds. But the inner eye wall, which contains the most extreme gusts, might last several minutes, if not a good portion of an hour. Then you get into the eye. You can see that picture right there. That's a picture I took inside the eye on Sunday night with the moon actually shining overhead. There are those stars. And then you get to the backside of the eye wall where suddenly the winds have switched direction and they're back with a vengeance. And so realistically, the forces imparted on structures will lead to very serious structural damage to all but the most well-constructed homes. And any debris left outside, any debris that's fragmented and broken about will become lethal missiles.
Right. And, you know, I've covered hurricanes before, lived in Miami, have been to NOAA, know what all of that is about. And I know that there's also a warning that, you know, they might feel a jostling, the people experiencing this hurricane, and then they might feel a moment or even several moments of calm. And then they go out to maybe check things out. That is not the time to brave this conditions.
You know, the eye is the most peaceful, horrifying, beautiful, and terrifying place you can imagine. When I was in the eye the other night, I could look up and see stars. The winds went calm briefly. And yet all around me, you see that buzzsaw of extreme winds. It's like being in the middle of an atmospheric whirlpool, a sink drain, if you will. It's an incredible feeling. And yet, all around you, just 10 miles away in any direction, 5 miles away in any direction, you have tornado-like wind speeds. And so for folks who find themselves in the eye, as soon as you see it, look up, get your glimpse, take 5 seconds, and then get back to shelter. And if you need to relocate from whatever shelter you were in, that's the time to do so if you quickly can. Because remember, the winds will switch direction. So the part of your home that you sought refuge in on one side may not be the best for the second half of the storm.
All right. From somebody who has literally flown through Melissa, Matthew Cappucci, thank you so much for that life-saving information.